Hi guys, I'm going to talk about joining your sections together for the fractured skull. So what you're going to need is you're going to need some of these type of clips. Oh, wonder clips, just throwing that one away. And some pins. So these pins I used and I call them like locating pins. So they're not actually what's going to hold the two pieces together before I sew them, but they are really useful for actually really precisely locating where they need to be sewn. So I've got an eye section and cheekbone here. So this is in the order that is in the pattern. I've done some points here as to where the important bits are to match up basically. There's nothing here that needs to line up, but this one does with the purple on the purple. And then this is the end, which is why that's important. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to line up these intersections. So I take the locating pin, I line it up just kind of approximately, and I push that through. Now, first try, that's gone almost perfectly. Maybe like a mil, if you can see, just too low. So I'm just going to move it up a little bit. Now I'm going to push that through to start with, and just pop a clip on to hold it together. Going to move on to the other end here. And pop it through. That one again just a little too low. Move it up. Now I'm going to take this clip off for a second, and I'm going to open this up. The other thing to note is I always push my pins all the way through. This is to help it stop it moving around. I suspect I've got this slightly too far over because that wants to go at an angle, but what we're going to do is we just open this up and we can look. Actually, it looks pretty good. So where I want it to be is I want it to be just on the inside of both of these folds, these joints. So it's probably just where this maybe has been stretched out a little bit when I've been ironing it. So what I'm going to do is going to make sure that is straight. That pin is at 90 degrees. Clip either side and take that pin out. And then I'm going to do the same at this end. Try and get that as close to 90 degrees as possible. Oh, that pin's a bit twisted as well, so that's probably why. As long as you're close, it's not the end of the world, but you want to just try and line up. It's where the intersections are is the most important thing, really. So I'm going to take this pin out, pop another clip in there for now, and what I am going to do is I'm just going to check this end, check that I'm not a million miles away from where I want to be, that end. I'm a touch short, I'm not quite sure why, but I'm sure it will be fine. So I'm now going to go and sew this. I keep my stitch length short on this, but if you're a bit uncertain, I would do your stitch length kind of normal, so 2.5, and that gives you, it makes it a little bit easier to unpick if you make any errors. So I'll just pop this through the sewing machine. Taking off the clips as I go. So there, I'm happy with how that's lined up, and this all along here looks good to me. So I'll open out the back and pop it under the iron. Oh. This section here is a little bit bulky, and this purple that comes underneath, you've got purple a blue and then a green. So what I would actually do is I would trim back the purple because that's kind of the furthest away from the seam, because all the others are underneath. So then I'm just going to iron that on the front. What you might have noticed here is I've glue basted where there's bits of flappy fabric, and like here that's glued down. So that's the first section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a few more of those without you and come back and show you kind of the main ways to sew it together, which is basically sew the eye sections and the head sections together, or separately each side. So like this and like this. Yeah, that is the right way, just there. Okay. Sew the nose on, and then sew those two together. So you've got all of the eyes, the top of the eyes together, and then all of the mouth together. If you sew one side of the head and then the other side of the head, you can miss the line around the nose and the mouth. So I'll come back and show you some more as it's all coming together. So I've now sewn the two eye and cheekbone pieces together, and I've sewn the nose section onto each side of the skull. Next ones to do are the foreheads on each side, again sewing those together. And then after that, we've got the two sides of the heads which will go on. What I would then do at that point is sew these together here, but I'll talk to you before then. So the next section I'm joining, guys, is the side of the skull at the top, so the main eye section. What I'm going to do is just run through about the kind of the important things. There isn't actually any things that line up that are important to line up, except for down here, I think. No, I don't think it really even is there. So I've just sewn one side together of the head, and the last piece to do is this one on the other side, before I join them in the centre here. Now, I realised when I'm talking about doing the locator pins, I'm not telling you why that's important. Basically, it's important to line up some certain areas. Sorry, that's the cat trying to break in. For example, on this section, lining up this bit with this bit, so you've got a nice smooth line on the skull, on the outline of the skull, and then over here on this blue and this blue, which is purple, pink over here. It's making sure that the edges of that line up nicely, so that's a nice continuous line, and you kind of lose the fact that that is a separate section, so it kind of blends and works together a little bit better. So how I do that is I know that this is a key point and this is a key point down here. When I am locating them, you can see that's where I've got the stars. So when I'm locating them, I pay particular attention to those and I do them first. So I've got one in what I think is the correct place. I'm just pinning it and then clipping it just to hold it in place. And then I'm going to line up this one. Now they don't look like they line up when I open them completely like this. That's because you've got a seam allowance on both sides, so you're coming in on both sides. Oh, that seems to be quite far off for some reason. I think possibly over the length of it. Yeah, no, it works out fine if I kind of pull it tight, which is obviously what will happen when I'm sewing it. Also, I will be doing some pins, locating pins along here, and pinning either side of those as well. Not pinning, clipping either side of those as well. Out. So the last bit that I want to do is I will just check the locator pin areas. Well, not the areas. I will check at this end here that I am close enough so it's not running off at all. That one. So I'll pop that clip there for now. Take that out. And I will check this end as well. Don't put pins in your mouth. I mean, who doesn't put pins in their mouth? So that's close enough for me. That'll be fine because it's not going off to anything else. It should be alright. Sorry, the cat broke into the room now. So she's meowing. Right, so I'll sew that, and then this one will look exactly the same as that, and I will talk to you about lining up the important sections here. So I've got these two sections finished, sewn across here and across here. So now the thing to do is to sew them together. Now normally I'd have to line up a bit more than I do on this one because there is actually quite a lot of contrast going to be going on here anyway. What's interesting when you look at this is that this colour and this colour look different. They are actually the same colour. It's just because they're lined up next to a more of a yellow and more of a green. So this looks more yellow than this, and this looks more green than this, but in actual fact, they are the same colour. So what I'll be doing when I pin this together is I'll be going all the way along down where the important locating factors are. So around the purple, top of the nose here and here, and the other one that's going to be really obvious is up here. These ones should link up okay. Well, it should all link up okay, but I, as I said, do the locator pin on all of these. So I'm going to attempt to do this on here. I've lost all my pins though, so oh no, I've got some more over here. Right, so the first one, which is probably the important one visually, is probably around the nose here. That's the cat joining in this. Should have thought about putting her out of the room again. So I've got that one in. And that one's in. As you can see there, I was just kind of like opening it up to see where it was, the pin, so it was a little bit too far into the purple than what I wanted. So not only do I go by the marks on the paper, I also go by where the fold is in the fabric, because sometimes you haven't ironed it fully across, or you can wangle it anyway. So anyway, the reason we sew the two sides together at this point without the bottom jaw is because I learnt the hard way when I did a whole half and then I did a whole other half and then I tried to sew them together, and there's much more because it's a longer 16-inch length. There's a lot more that can be out on it. Now if you're doing shorter lengths, you can kind of amend those, or the how it runs out is not as noticeable when it's on a shorter length. So that, as you can see there, is kind of like perfectly lined up. These ones we can't see at the moment because I put the clips on. Oh, that's way off. That one's good, and that one's good. And then the other one. That one's good. And then the other one. 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 And then the other one Probably the last one just up on this junction into the background fabric will be where I go. Now, as you can tell, when you're watching this, I'm not wonderful at editing. I'm also not great at talking to camera things. I just hope this is helpful. I'm only beginning, as starting out doing this kind of thing, as I'm sure you all guys are aware. So thank you for bearing with me. Any feedback you have is much appreciated. You can either email me at my blog, which is andsoiblog@gmail.com, or message me on Instagram or Facebook with any feedback. It's really helpful. I know I'm saying a lot. That's just practice, hopefully. Okay, I'm going to sew this and I will show you it again. So here is the top section, the eyes sewn together with that seam. It really annoys me how that looks like a different colour. I guarantee you those two are the same colour. Eyes, it's a optical illusion? Optical illusion. Yeah, so what I'm going to do now is sew all the jaw sections together, and then I will show you that joining it across here, and then the two last panels that go together along there. Right, good progress, it's exciting. So another little tip, guys, when you're sewing, what I'm doing is sewing the two teeth sections together. So we haven't got the side sections on, just the teeth. These are quite bulky, so I'm using a stylus, which actually comes with my faff machine, to help push it through, and I'm going slowly to get over these lumpy bumps, and then press until your life depends on it. So guys, the last bit of this video is just the assembly of the last few sections. So what you've done is sewn all of the bottom teeth area together, all of the nose and eyes together, so you including the central seam here and here, and then you'll have sewn these sections together. I think it's F and G. So what you do now is you sew those two together, and then you sew these ones on the side, and that will give you the best result for everything lining up and things like that. Cool. I'll show you that when it's done. So here's the eyes and the mouth joined together, and now these side sections will go on.